Welcome to Parenting Trap Episode 5, where Alex and I discuss why we do not force children to share.
We are talking about sharing today.
Yay!
And why we do not believe that you should force kids to share.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty controversial topic. I hear parents all the time saying, oh, well, they have to learn how to share, or, when will they ever learn to share if we don't enforce sharing in some way? So a lot of parents will make their kids share their toys or share a communal park thing, go step aside. It's now, Tommy's turn or whatever. And so we want to, I love to touch on this subject. So,
yes. So, we don't believe in forcing it. And we don't believe that forcing kids to share actually teaches them to share in the first place. So it defeats the purpose. I'm looking at my notes. If I am a kid and I'm playing with something and someone else wants it and the adult says, share with so-and-so, comes over, takes it out of my hands and gives it to someone else, then you're not actually teaching me to share. You're teaching me that the adults have total control and they don't care about what I'm trying to do. And they have their own sense of justice, which I may or may not agree with, and I probably won't agree with if I'm a young child trying to play with something and I didn't want to give it to, I wasn't done with it.
Yeah. And not only that, I think not only are the adults in control of everything, which is not what sharing is. Sharing isn't someone else telling you have to give it to someone. Sharing is deciding that you are going to willingly allow someone else to use something for a little while. Yeah. And, but you're also teaching children in that example, through modeling, the bigger, stronger person is the one that gets the control. So it's not just that adults are in control, but as kids get older, they recognize that they might be bigger or whatever, and that they can easily take something from a smaller kid. So you are modeling that it's acceptable to walk up and yank something out of someone's hand.
And I've seen this at schools when I worked at the preschool. The kids will walk up and be like, share, boom, pull it out of the other kid's hand.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, because that's an appropriate behavior now in their eyes. They're going to imitate us. If you don't want them doing it, don't do it to them. Don't do it to other people. So that's not a behavior we want them to model, to imitate. And so I don't think that we should do it to kids.
Yeah. And we certainly don't expect it of one another. If I'm on my cell phone and sitting at a park and texting someone or writing an email, I
don't come up and say, share your phone.
Yeah.
I don't have one. I want to look at yours.
I need to look at yours. I forgot my phone today. Maybe you'll ask, may I borrow your phone? Because I need to call someone, but you're certainly not just gonna, I think you've had enough time with that. It's my turn now.
Yeah. It's a super bizarre thing that we talk about. Obviously we want our kids to be generous and empathetic towards other people. But we're not going to teach it by forcing them to share, which is not even sharing. That's just taking things from them and instilling your own sense of justice. So yes, that does not work. Yeah. It's such a weird thing.
Yeah. And I think, also people, they think they're going to be able to make that connection for their child, and helping them understand that the other kid deserves some turn with it. But, we're in the kid's mind, whatever they're doing with the toy or whatever, maybe they're building something, maybe they're just fidgeting, who knows what, it's important to them. And I think that's why one of the reasons parents do this, or even just adults in general, we don't necessarily value their interaction with the toy. We don't see it as important the way that we might see me writing an email on my cell phone as important. And so like, of course, I'm not going to give you up my cell phone. Yeah. I'm in the middle of something important. But, you know, for children, what they do is really important to them. Yes. And it should be important to us too, because that's how they're learning. They actually learn so much about the world, not just about sharing, but just about everything when they interact with things. So we need to give them that time. This
relates to our last episode about valuing play. And this is valuing their play. You have to, they value it. And it's important that we value it. That is how they learn. That's what they're doing is important.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. And so if you keep that in mind, then you allow the child to finish what they're doing with whatever they're interacting with. And once the child is actually done, I think this is something that's hard for people to grasp, but once they're finished and they let go and they're done, another kid could come in and play with the thing that they're playing with. And usually there's no conflict whatsoever. Yeah. A kid might be upset and like sitting on the sidelines and like really wanting to play. But if you kindly tell that child or help them through, say, I see you're upset. You really want to play with that. You know, so-and-so still playing with it. And I'm sure you can play with it when they're finished, and you let them finish, let the kid who's working on the project finish whatever they're doing. And I would call that project and play. Then that kid's going to be so happy to release the item and move on to the next thing. And then the next kid can play with it with no conflict whatsoever. Kids are actually pretty good at sorting these issues out on their own if you give them an opportunity to do it. They might need a little bit of help, especially if you have kids that have been sort of forced to share in that way a lot, because then they're going to have an expectation. You might hear from a kid say, they've had it for long enough. It's my turn now.
A lot of adults will say, okay, then let's time it 5 minutes. And then you get 5 minutes. I don't agree with that. However, I have said, when do you think you will be done? And then they usually give a time. And then I have set timers. That's not ideal, but I have done that. But giving the child autonomy over it. Like, what are you trying to finish? Oh, you're trying to finish this with it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. I need to say something else though.
Yes.
When we do that and we interrupt and we try and enforce what we think is the correct course of actions, which would be sharing in this case, we're robbing our children of the learning experience. We're robbing them of the problem solving that can go on, the ability to even like try and see that empathy. So one of the things that you were touching on was sports casting. Mm-hmm. So if we sit down and you see that someone's playing with an object and another kid wants to play with that object, it's amazing how creative kids are at solving their own problems when you just sports cast to them and they're able to hear another person's point of view. So that would look like, oh, so-and-so is playing with the bucket and the shovel. It looks like so-and-so wants, I should use real names. So this is very confusing. So it's like, it looks like Sally John, and Joe. Yeah. John. Okay. Sally is playing with the bucket and shovel. It looks like Johnny really wants to play with that bucket and shovel. And if Johnny's getting upset because he wants to play with it, then we can say it's hard to wait. And we can physically stop Johnny from taking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might reach out and try and grab, and you can say, "Oh, Sally's still playing with that." You could try to even assist in a redirect if it's getting really difficult. You can say, "Oh, do you want to go play with the cars over here while you wait?" You can always do that. Like, I'm gonna make you wait. Like there's going to be this waiting process because they're not finished yet.
Yeah, the kids at that age can't see outside of their perspective. So the person playing with the object is so engrossed in what they're doing, they're not necessarily seeing Johnny upset and recognizing that is directly caused by them playing with something that the other person wants. But it's amazing how many times just sportscasting that, just saying that out loud, neutrally, not like you are taking one side or another, just neutrally saying, so-and-so, I see this and I see this. How often the kid that's playing with a toy will realize and go, oh, okay, yeah, you can have that. Or I just need to finish this thing. Or
here,
do you want to help me? Yeah, I'm trying to do this. Why don't you use the shovel and I use my hands? And kids, it's amazing what they come up with. They're so creative. We really rob them of that.
Yeah, especially when we enforce our own sense of justice and, oh, you have to share it, or even enforcing you've had enough time. That makes kids less likely to work collaboratively, because then they're just waiting for the item, and then the other kid feels like they need to get in what they wanted to do, and it's confusing for them. And
it's not fun.
It's not fun.
And then they hate us, right? Not that,
and maybe even resentful on the other child too, because you're the one who took it from me, but then he's the one that's now playing with it.
You will absolutely cause more sibling rivalry when you take sides. Mm-hmm. So I suggest not taking sides. And there's a good book, Siblings without Rivalry. Okay, I was going to say, what was the name of that again? Yeah.
Siblings Without Rivalry. So I'll put that in the show notes. It's a wonderful book. Adele Faber.
I forget. I can't remember our names. I should have written that down.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. It'll be in the show notes, so you guys can look it up if you're interested in reading it. And it's not just for siblings, it's for any child interactions. So this is play dates, it can be play dates or preschool, park interactions, anywhere. And I have to say, it is hard to be that parent. It is actually hard to be the parent who does not enforce sharing, because I think it's an extremely common thing for parents to do. They think their kids will never, ever, ever share if they're not forced to share. But
just the opposite. Just the opposite. If you give them the opportunities to do it themselves, then they don't. They learn it faster.
Yeah. And I see that.
And they do it genuinely. Like, they want to do it. They're not doing it because they have to. Like, okay, fine. My mom's going to come take it out of my hands if I don't give it to you.
Yeah.
That's not the attitude you want. You want oh yeah, I can see that you're upset. Here you go.
Yeah. And I see that even in my 2-year-old right now. I see it in my 7-month-old right now. No joke. I have seen between the two of them, one of them will be playing with the object. The other one will reach out, and I'll just say, oh, it looks like Crane wants to play with that now. And my 2-year-old will look at my baby, look at the baby and the item, and hand it over. And it's amazing. And I mean, sometimes there's a moment of wait, actually, I'm not sure if I'm ready, but usually he'll just hand it over and then walk away. He moves on, and she's like as happy as can be. And I've seen her do the same thing, because she sometimes grabs things out of his hands now,
It's really awkward is when you're at a play date or a park and another parent enforces sharing. Oh. So your kid goes up and their kid has something that our kid wants, and the parent goes, oh, share, takes it out of that kid's hands, gives it to our kid. Oh. That's the most awkward, because I don't want them to do that. I wouldn't do that to my kid. Mm-hmm. And then if the situation's reversed, then they look to me like I should be doing the same for their kid. So
and it does reverse. And actually, you're right. That's kind of where I was about to even get into, and I got sidetracked. But you're so right about that. And it's hard. It's really hard to be that parent that doesn't enforce sharing the way that most people do, because people think they're kind of shocked. I think they judge you, they judge your kid. Mm-hmm. But hold strong. Our children need us as advocates. We are the people who stand up for them. And it can be your own child or some other child. Wherever you can, try and always be the one to support the child, and don't worry about what other parents think about you. Honestly, what I think isn't, I have a hard time letting go of judgment sometimes. I think we all do. But what I sometimes think is they're probably judging me anyway. So I'd rather do the thing that's right for my kid.
Yeah. And you would be surprised how many people have never heard these ideas before. Mm-hmm. And when they are exposed to them, they like them. I've had a lot of people come up to me at the park and say, I really like the way you talk to your kids. I like the way you parent. And then I explain some things to them and I give them resources. And I've made some great friends that way too.
That's awesome.
So I think, just being open and saying to the other parent, like, oh, we don't do that, or I don't do that. And if they're open to it, you can explain why. And if they're not, then, well, you never have to see them again. Like, it's a park, public place.
Yeah. And even if it is a friend, even if it is somebody that I think, everyone makes their own decisions and their own ways of parenting. And I can't imagine a circumstance like that being something that completely breaks ties. But, again, we all get to make our own decisions, and we have to move along. We can't necessarily force other people to do things the way we want them.
Yeah.
I think, another good example too, it just popped in my head too, and I see this sometimes, is, okay, food, which is interesting because I've seen that before. Oh, you have to share. And like parents it's like they're almost trying to encourage the idea of sharing by taking food out of their kids' hands, not mouths, obviously, but their hands or whatever, like off their plate. And I think that is not even anything we do as adults ever.
I mean, I'll share my food with someone I know, like you, but
rarely is it off of like your dinner plate though.
Unless we're at a restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually you ask, oh, may I have a little piece, and you're happy to share. But my kid's going to get it better if I take the food off their plate. And also, I actually like to avoid using the word share at all. I tend not to use the word. I just don't like it. I don't want, so often we say share, but that's not even what we mean. And that's what I'm getting at is, when you are sharing something like food, when I think of sharing, I think of you're going to use it for a little while and I get it back.
Right. I'm just giving you food.
Yeah. You're just giving me food.
I don't want those back.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want it back. So, so I like to use that that type of terminology better, is giving to. And I even use it with toys, because I don't think kids always have that. They don't have the concept to truly understand sharing and the idea of like ownership and returning. So I oftentimes even use that kind of terminology with toys. Oh, look, John is giving Sally the bucket and shovel now, instead of, oh, they're sharing it. I tend to just stay away from that kind of terminology. I think kids have a lot of baggage with it already, because it does get enforced in really kind of confusing ways for children.
That's interesting. I never did that. I didn't try and use different words for the word sharing. I just didn't force. I didn't force sharing. Yeah. Where did you come up with that on your own?
I did. Wow. I mean, it's totally on my own. In just feeling like, and oftentimes we use the word when it's not actually sharing things like food. Oh, you have to share those M&Ms with your, brother or whatever. And it's like, well, is that really sharing? That's actually kind of more giving them. And there is a finite amount, and your kid knows that. They learn that pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So, you're not getting it back.
It just reminded me of a time. My kids are 21 months apart, and Jamie, my oldest, was, both of them. So my oldest was like 3 and my youngest was around 1, and they had a snack. It was after dinner time, and I put a little bit of chocolate chips on the plate and some fruit and some other stuff too. And Jamie ate all of his and then looked over, and Robin was a slower eater because he was younger, and Robin had some chocolate chips left. And Jamie asked if he could have some chocolate chips, and Robin let him have a chocolate chip. And Jamie said, "Thanks, Robin." And so Jamie took some and ate them, and then took some more and ate them, and took some more, took like the rest of them. And then Robin went, "Ah!" And then Jamie went, "Oh," and gave him some back and ate what he had. And Robin, because he was so young, didn't realize, that he lost so many. He was just happy that he got some. And then Robin and everything was happy. And I didn't have to say stop or no, or try. And Jamie got more chocolate chips than Robin did, but they were both happy. And it was them learning to communicate with each other. And they had a moment It's fun.
And I could see a lot of parents trying to step in and saying, oh, you already had your 15. Look, now they have 15. You know, we try and make things fair, but in their minds, that was fair. They worked it out. It was fine. Yeah. It doesn't matter that Robin might have eaten only 3.
Yeah, he was
chocolate
totally
chips
happy sharing with his brother.
Yeah,
yep.
And that's so
like
sweet.
That would be a great example of how maybe our idea of justice is not really what the kids' idea is.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes it isn't what they want. You know, maybe one wants less chocolate chips and another one wants something else, and they figure that out. But when we try and make it so fair and so perfect and perfectly sharing, I think we're actually it backfires. It can easily backfire on us.
Yeah,
and
we're robbing our kids of the experience. We need to let them figure these things out.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So as always, I always get done recording and think of 1,000 things I wish I had said. So if you guys have any questions, please ask, because we can talk about all these subjects even more. Or if you have a specific example or question or something that you think doesn't fit quite in with what we're talking about here, let us know. We'll talk. We would love to discuss it on this show.
Yes.
And
that would be great.
Yeah. You can send questions to questions@parentingtrap.com. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below and we'll either discuss it or write in for you guys. Thanks a lot, guys.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.